Peace and blessings. I am Regina, and welcome to my happy place, Diva G's Reborns. We are here with Baby Onyx. Baby Onyx is ready to get some hair. So I will be rooting a bit of Baby Onyx on camera. I'm going around the perimeter of the head. In one of the other videos, I did go over some of the mapping. So now we will be doing a little bit of the rooting. I have my cape. It is a hair cutting cape that catches the hair. I also have my distilled water at standing ready for me to be able to use and my distilled water. Okay, to kind of lay the hair, I have my toothbrush, the comb, the rat tooth comb, and I have a wide tooth comb. I have my needles and I have some extra needles just in case. And I have the hair that I will be rooting around the perimeter. This is the rooting tool that I like to use. I purchase my supplies from Amazon, and rooting needles that we use for the hair. Um, they are felting needles. Um, I have not yet um, purchased any of the other um, higher quality needles. I believe that there are some that are German and they are they're really great for rooting. So far, these have been working for me. And this is, I wanted to just kind of show the rooting tool that I use. It comes in two pieces. It came in a set with the needles, the rooting needles, and it has this portion. Um, it's a little bit larger at this end, and it goes down to a smaller end. There's an opening, and what you do is you put the rooting needle in there, and once you have the needle in, you put the small side into the rooting tool, so the needle will be out of the back. Now, some they root directly just with the needle. I've not done it that way. I've always used the rooting tool. So, and some they clip this part off of the needle and they may insert it into whatever it is. I'm not too certain. But what I do is I just take my rooting needle and I put it in like so that the bottom, it's that way. And then I go ahead and I place it in the tool itself. Now, I don't know if it would be better if I clipped off some of it so that there would be less of the needle sticking out and it would be less chance of it, being weak and breaking. However, this is how I've been rooting since the beginning, from day one when I started rooting in um, August of 2025, the end of August. That's when I began my reborning journey. So I've been, rooting, in a sense this way. Um, I hope you were able to take a look at the live that I posted, that the live stream I had on yesterday, where I went over a haul as well as some kit reviews and had some wonderful conversations. The other thing that I do use with my rooting is I use a heat lamp, and it warms up the head and it makes the vinyl a little bit softer, as well as with the light that's inside the head I can see the mapping. I also have my rooting lamp. I don't know if you can. see it. No, you maybe cannot see it. I'm gonna see if I can swing it into camera. This is a magnifying lamp that I use when I'm rooting. It has a light. It also has a magnifier, but I don't use the magnifying part generally. I just really use it for the light. And I actually, when I'm filming in general, I have this light on as well. That's sometimes you may see me shifting the lights or turning it on or off or something. And sometimes that's when I'm one of the lights that I'm um, adjusting. Now for the hair that when I'm rooting, oftentimes I use command strips or well that's the the name what would you call the brand name command strips or you can actually get something similar to command strips because these are just the things that you can pull hang pictures up on your wall and it holds the hair. Sometimes I hold the hair just in my fingers, sometimes I hold it this way. It just depends. It just all depends on where I am on the head, what I'm doing. This just kind of keeps it all together for me. I like to root with, this is the part up here. Okay. This is the part that would come out of the scalp. So this is the part that's going into the scalp. So what happens is when you feel the hair and go down the hair shaft, you generally will in fact feel some roughness or some smoothness. When you feel it feeling smooth, that's generally because the cuticles are going one way and they're laying down. Frizzy hair often comes from when the cuticles are raised. So if I were to root this way, start at this end, there's a really strong possibility that this hair would be frizzy. Um, Now, if I root from the middle, okay, of the hair, some of it might be frizzy, some of it wouldn't be frizzy. Um, and that could be okay depending upon what it is that you want to do. But because I want the hair around the perimeter to actually be to be, you know, in a sense, kind of straight, I'm going to ensure that I'm rooting in this direction. Now, for me, I can kind of tell which way I'm going because this has, let me see if you can see it. It has arrows, okay? Because, like I said, it's really actually to hang pictures, so it's telling you which way to go, and you know, it's Velcro in between. So when I'm rooting, I can tell which way I'm going because I always have this part coming toward me, facing me, going toward the right. Okay. And yeah, so once this is going toward the right, I know that I'm going in the correct direction and I can see which way the arrows are going. Now, I like to try to have the hair when I begin even. Okay. And then as I go, I may kind of pull out with the needle a little bit. Now, the needle that I'm working with, I believe it is the 40. I think this is a 40 gauge. I oftentimes use 40 or 42 gauge. I find that they work well with human hair. Um, I do have the set that I purchased. It has different size needles in it. I just happen to use these, and I find that that's why they've been working for me. Now, when I'm using the heat lamp to heat the head, I'm mindful of how warm the head gets because I don't want, obviously, to melt the vinyl. Um, so the rooting lamp, I do have listed everything I'm using. I have it pretty much listed in the description bar below. or you can ask me in general in the comments and I can answer you. So this video, I would hope that it will be interesting. Like I said, I'm going to do some rooting, and I'll be doing just a little bit of some talking as well. And I hope that will, that you will have some interest in that as well. So in the needle, when I'm going in, I'm angling the needle in a sense going upward, and I want to make sure I'm striving to get 1 to maybe 2 hairs at a time, preferably 1 hair at a time, because I'm going around the perimeter, and I would like that soft kind of baby hair look around the perimeter. So here we go, and I have a rooting pillow under the head also. And here we go. I already did do put a few pieces in already, a few strands already. So now I'm gonna go around, and I'm trying to see which way I want to see which way the needle is angled to pick up the hair. This is a multi-barbed needle, so it will pick up the hairs for me. Just lower the light a bit so that I can see. So our baby onyx, I'm going to go around. What I like to do is I like to root around the perimeter first. And then I go around to the rest of, then I go around the rest of the hair. I know you may not really be able to see what it is that I'm doing that well. I am catching the hair, 1 hair at a time, and I'm trying to be, like I said, I'm trying to get 1 hair at a time. And this is loose hair. This particular rooting hair cutting cake has a little pocket here that I can put loose hair or things like that in. So yeah. So the live stream that I posted, well, I streamed it live on yesterday, and it was a kit review of a toddler and some other conversations that were held regarding reborning in general. And it was just such a wonderful live. There was participation in the comments from, many who were on with us. So it was a very nice live. Again, 1 to 2 hairs at a time. And the head is kind of warm enough that the vinyl is a bit softer. So I'm going to just kind of, the heat lamp that I have, it's actually really, it's a salt lamp. I'm turning, and this one has a dial to it so that I can turn it down so that the head is not continuing to heat. It just will keep it kind of like at a, keep the head warm. Just keep it warm, the vinyl warm. So while I'm rooting. So yes, so the live was the live was lit. I think it was lit, and I found out some information as well. I mean, that's the beauty of being in the community. We can share information with one another because one of the kids that I have, June, which is a 3-year-old toddler, and she does not come with armatures. Turning on this fan, I'm a little warm. She does not come with armatures. Now, from what I was told on yesterday, that at one point when she was first released, um, she did have armatures, but now that she is a re-release, um, they did not release her with armatures. So I had been kind of searching for armatures for her online because Bountiful Baby, where I, obtained her from, because she's a realborn, a 3-year-old realborn. Um, they don't have armatures at all on their site. They don't have them where you can get them separately. So I Googled and I was kind of looking, trying to see if I could purchase them anywhere. I even, was on Amazon looking, and, I thought I had like really searched everywhere for them. And I just said, well, I guess, when I reborn her, she won't have armatures, and maybe I can just weight her in a way that maybe she would, have some kind of stability and possibly be able to stand. And the wonderful thing about being in the live stream, doing the live stream yesterday, and having other Dolly family members in the community on the live stream, I was informed that Dolls by Sandy has the armatures available. So I did look at the website. They do have the armatures for that I can use for her. Now, they were not quite as long as her kit. However, when I saw Karen from Making Reborn Dolls with Karen Reborn Charlie, which is a 1.5, 15-month toddler, he comes with armatures. And when she put him together, when she assembled him, she, cuts, she did not use all of the armature pieces. So she had leftover pieces. So I'm wondering if I get the armature that Dolls by Sandy has and I use them for June of 3 years, maybe it will be long enough, and maybe that will in fact work. Um, but what I'm finding out, what I'm being told is that regardless armatures or not, the dolls, they don't stand independently. They won't stand independently. They kind of have to be propped. So that's one of the things. I mean, which that's fine. I mean, that's fine. I just thought that the doll would be able to stand independently. Um, Because if you remember, I told you the story when I was a little girl. I had a toddler-sized doll, a walking doll, and you would take her arm, and there was a mechanism in her that when you moved her arm a certain way, her legs would move, and she would go with you, and I could, walk. It was like she was walking with me. And I loved the doll so very much. And I would play with this doll and walk with this doll and everything. And my parents had gone through considerable effort to get her for me, to get this doll for me, because back when I was a little girl, they really didn't have as many melanated or African American dolls. But my parents always were able to find these dolls for me that were melanated. I don't know how they were able to do it, but they did. And so I love this doll very much. And I mean, I did have Caucasian dolls as well, but I primarily had, African American dolls. And this particular doll, like I said, she would walk. when you moved her arm. And I went to sleep one night and I had a dream, or better yet, a nightmare. And in the nightmare, my dear doll started walking independently toward me. And it freaked me out in the dream because I was a child. I was probably like 5, 6 years old or something. I was a child. And when I woke up and I told my parents, and I was like, I don't want to play with the doll anymore. I don't want to play with the doll anymore. So what they did was they put the doll in the attic, and so I didn't have to see her, to play with her or anything like that. So I said all of that to say, where am I going with that story? The point of it is the doll would stand independently. She did, you know. So, and she would only move when I would hold her hand. And, in reality, when I would hold her hand and lift it, and then she would be able to walk. Now, like I said, she would stand independently, but her feet, the bottom, the soles of her feet were completely flat. Um, and I guess she must have had, I don't know, a mechanism, some type of mechanism, obviously, to make her walk. Some type of, I guess, armature kind of something. And yeah, so I had many, years later, the doll had remained in my parents' attic and what have you. And, I was still, you know, uncomfortable about the doll. So even if I went up into my parents' attic, and I'm talking about as a grown woman, I would look at the doll and kind of like have her covered up because I didn't want to see her. Well, P.S. I was taking care of my parents, and as many of you know, um, both of my parents, I was taking care of them, and they passed away 3.5 months apart. So after, my dad passed first, and his birthday was yesterday, January the 20th. And he, yeah, he passed away January the 20th. And interestingly enough, that was his birthday. And so both of my parents happened to pass away. And after my mom passed away, I don't know, my brother thought it would be a good idea to sell that property as well. Hmm, interesting. Nonetheless, um, once emptying the home out, emptying the attic as well, lo and behold, there was my doll. So my doll, I brought home, and I have my doll, and so I was still creeped out even when I saw her. Then I was creeped out. I mean, yes, creeped out still. And because I remembered the dream. So I brought her home and I stood her up, by the fireplace, but kind of like on the side, where I couldn't see her as well. And then, passing by, I would see her as I'm walking, passing by, and I would see her. And I still was creeped out. So what did I do? I put her in the closet facing the wall. Yeah. So she's in the closet facing the wall. Um, so yeah. And I guess she may be, I don't know, maybe she's the size of June, 3 years. Maybe because The doll was nearly as big as me when I was a child. And so I don't know. I'm trying, like I said, I don't remember how old I was because it was, quite some time ago. Although I say that I am forever 21, in actuality, I'm not. But, that's what I tell myself. And I tell other people that too, that I'm 21. Um, and the only thing that is wrong with the doll is I have no idea where it is because one of her arms is missing. Yeah, her arm is missing. So, you know, I don't know if I can get maybe purchase a limb to see if I would be able to kind of put her together or not. I don't know because she's hard. Back then some of the dolls when they that were made like that, she's very hard. I don't know if it would be hard plastic or very hard vinyl. um so yeah, so to get an arm for her, um I don't even know how it would be connected. I don't know if she's put together with um, connectors, kind of like the large toddlers that Ping Lao has. Um, I don't know, but yeah. So she doesn't have one of her arms is missing. Um, yeah. So yeah, actually, I think she probably would be a valuable. She's probably a valuable antique. There is a doll channel that I do follow, and this collector, she collects antique dolls. Many of them are porcelain and what have you. Probably, if I was to send her a picture, she might be able to tell me something about the doll. Um, maybe where I could maybe get a replacement limb from. Because when I look on the websites, the reborning doll websites, I'm not seeing a limb that, would work for her. Um, I don't know if I was to just use her head. Um, but, again, it's just like she's a cute doll, and she has those peekaboo eyes, where they open and close. If you lie her down, they close. And I think that's probably part of what creeped me out with her too. The eyes, with that opening closing, kind of creeped me out. Now, the funny thing is, something like that will creep me out, right? But then I can sit there and look at um movies like Hellraiser and It and Pet Cemetery and The Exorcist and everything like that. And those they don't, I'm fine with that. Go figure. Um, so that I guess that's like a little quirky thing about me. So, but yeah, so that's the thing with that particular doll. And I don't even remember what her name is. I don't remember what her name is. Um, I had another doll because I've always liked pretty much life-size dolls, and I had a doll, and her name was Baby Chrissy, and she looked like a real baby. She was listed as a 9-month size doll, like a 9-month baby, and I would have, my mom to go into um, the store to get doll clothes for her, you know. And my dad, he would, be in the car waiting or what have you. And he thought it was funny that because my mother, she really didn't want to go get the clothes, but I wanted the clothes, and so yeah. So, and of course, I was a child. I couldn't go, get them myself. Um, and back then, there was no, there was no internet like, there was no internet like that. The only thing that we may have had, and I don't even know if it was then. You did have, well, no, it may have been where you had catalogs like from J.C. Penney's and different places where you could order, like that, and then have it delivered to your home, or you could go pick it up. But I don't know if they had that when I got baby Chrissy. So baby Chrissy, I wish I had her now. I remember her um, at my parents' house as an adult, um, but I don't I don't know what became of her. I don't know what became of her. Um, I don't know because I never saw her afterwards. She was a really cute doll, and she had her hair was some kind of way. She had this hair that you would pull the cord in her back, and it could make the hair short. And then if you pulled the hair from the top of her head, it would make it long like it was growing. So she had her ponytail would grow, but the rest of the hair, her ponytail quote unquote would grow, but the rest of her hair would, it would remain the same length. And so yeah, so that was baby Chrissy, and she too was melanated. Um, I had this other doll that her name was Thumbelina, and you would take her cord. She had a cord in her back, and you would take her cord, and you could pull the cord, and then she would kind of wiggle and kind of like, wiggle and squirm like she was a baby moving. And she had came with, I guess it was like a little cradle. So I had her, and I had her in a Caucasian baby Thumbelina, and then African American Thumbelina. And I loved them so much, and I had them like they were twins, and they were smaller. They were probably, I don't know, maybe they were like 12 inches or something like that. Um, I don't remember, but they were. If anybody remembers any of these dolls, mention that down in the comments. I would love to hear about some of the dolls that you had maybe when you were growing up, um, because they do have such wonderful, wonderful memories. They bring back such joy. Um, the walking doll, I don't know. You know what she looks almost like? She looks kind of like an American doll. She kind of looks like that. Um, sort of. She puts me in the mind of that. Um, yeah, kind of like sort of like that. But I guess she's probably taller than an American doll. I think, I don't know, because I haven't seen an American doll in person. But yeah, so she's, I don't remember her name. I wish I did. And then I also had Baby Alive. And that was a doll where you could feed, and they even had Baby Alive food, and she had a tract, and then she would actually poop her diaper, or you could give her water, and she would, do that, like, you know. But the thing is, they have Baby Alive now, but she looks totally different. The Baby Alive that I had looked like a real baby, looked like a real baby. And the dolls that they have now, they don't look real. They look you know, kind of cartoonish. They have like these huge eyes and odd features, whereas the baby alive that I had back then, like I said, she looked like a real doll, a real baby, I mean. And yeah, so I always had excuse me, more lifelike dolls. I guess that's why I gravitate toward the reborns. Um, Even growing up, although Barbie was popular in my cousin, um, we were very close. She was the only child, and since I was the only girl, and we were 3.5 months apart, we would spend a lot of time together. She oftentimes would spend like the weekend at our house and stuff like that, and she loved Barbie. She had Barbie everything. She had the campers, she had the this, she had all of the clothes, she loved herself some Barbie. And me, I just like the life size dolls. So yeah, so um that was the thing. And yeah, so I never even had a Barbie, or one of those dolls that size. I never had one. I mean, I can appreciate them, because if you love dolls, you love dolls. um I can appreciate them. I just don't, I never had any. um and I always liked the dolls that looked real, lifelike. And one would think that I would love a Barbie because um I'm, fashion conscious, so to speak, in a sense. And Barbie has all of these clothes and different things and shoes and stuff like that. Um, and they even have, interestingly enough, they recently came out with a Barbie that has diabetes. And I think that is I think that is good, because for children who have diabetes, and they have the insulin pumps and different things like that, to have a doll that they can identify with makes them, I think, feel included, included in the world. It's kind of like, I mean, it's not the same thing, but I think it's a little bit similar. Like I mentioned, when I was a little girl growing up, um, primarily all of the dolls were Caucasian. So, we had Caucasian dolls, but we also had, I also had Black dolls, African American dolls, that my parents, they would look for them and find them, and I had them. So, as a Black child growing up, I then felt included, being able to play with a doll that, in a sense, looked like me. So I felt, really great about that. Now, I think, like with the Barbie that has um diabetes, maybe it's kind of like the same idea, um for a child with diabetes, that maybe it, makes them feel included, um in a sense. I don't know, maybe, just my thought. What do you think about that? Tell me what you think about that. And yeah. And see, like, now you have dolls that um are of so many different ethnicities. You have dolls that are of Asian, descent. So it's very nice. It's very nice to be included. I think it's very nice to see, that representation. Um, let's see if you can see something. Let me just turn. Let me see if I turn. the light. Let's see, turn off, and you can see some of the rooting that I have done. And I have done like around, a little bit around the temple, a little bit around, I don't know, you maybe can't see it that well, but I've done a little bit like around the temple, you know, that triangle. And then I've gone a little bit down here where the sideburns would be, and I've gone behind the ear. So I have it's 1 to 2 strands, you know, rooted at the time, and going around the face, more close around the face, I will go with one strand at a time. Let's see. I'm getting so much. Let me see. That's why. That's why that light that's there. Okay. I don't know if you can maybe see a little bit, um, a little bit. So yeah. So that's the thing. So yeah, I've had a lot of dolls, and you know, when I was growing up. And back then there was the Ideal Toy Factory. And I had a couple of relatives that worked there. So yeah. And maybe that was one of the reasons that I was able to get some of the dolls, um, you know, some of the African American dolls, maybe because I don't know, maybe they were made there too, and maybe some of my family members were able to get them, and you know, my parents were able to purchase them that way. I don't know. I don't know. And now that I think about it, it's just kind of coming to me. There isn't anyone that I can ask that question of because, excuse me, like I said, both of my parents, they transitioned, and you know, the family members also have transitioned that work there, so can't ask them. Um, yeah, so yeah, so I mean, this hair is, I think, is coming out quite nicely. I think it's coming out quite nicely. Again, I'm just going around the perimeter of the hair so that I can get that soft kind of baby hair um, feel, or that baby hair look. Now, I've seen some dolls where, I don't know, they just don't look, you know, they look very, very odd. Like I know some years ago, they had a doll that was kind of like a um, underdeveloped conjoined twin. So the doll had like two faces, and you know, I think you can still maybe probably get that kit now, or maybe someone is making that doll. You know, I don't know, because like I said, when I first saw it, it was years ago, maybe a decade ago. But you might be able to still get it now. I don't know, but I thought that was very odd. But I guess maybe on one level, that doll may um, fall into the category of a fantasy doll. I don't know. You know, I don't know. You know, because the doll, you know, was reborn that way. Now, are there actually babies that are born that way? Yes, there are. Are there some that live that way? Yeah, but they don't, they do. There are some that have lived. Um, but generally, if the baby has, just like two faces as opposed to one, um, usually one there's only one side that works, that is dominant and that works, and the other side is usually just kind of there. Um, it may have some kind of reflexes, but it doesn't really interact. Now, the thing with those types of children, they generally don't, um, like that, they generally don't survive long, because oftentimes they have other complications, so they don't generally survive long. Now, there are there are actually conjoined twins that have, um, you know, more parts of the body, more of the torso, more, they have the limbs. When I was growing up, the cousin that I was mentioning to you that liked the Barbie dolls, on her block, there was a set of twins, and they were girls. They were identical twin girls because initially they were conjoined. And what happened was they had two separate they had two separate torsos. The upper body, they had two completely upper bodies. Okay, and the lower part of them, they had like the pelvis, and I guess they had all of, I guess they had the genitalia, I guess. I don't know, because I was a child as well. But what they did was they initially had, I think they had initially three legs, but nonetheless, what they did was they separated them, and they survived, and they did well, and they were thriving and everything. And, I would imagine they're still alive now. Um, and we would play, how when you're a child, you play tag and all of these different things. And when I would go visit my cousin, all of us children would be out playing, and the twins, they would be out there playing too. And they could run so fast, hopping. They would hop and they could run so fast. And they were just, beautiful, beautiful girls, beautiful girls. I wonder whatever happened to them, but like I said, they, they were, they I would imagine that they would have had a normal life expectancy. Um, you know, Now, as you know, I'm a mother of twins. So when I always wanted to have twins, when I was a little girl, I would always pray I wanted to have twins and everything like that. So when um I found out, when we found out that I was pregnant, I wanted twins. And I was so elated to find out that, I was having twins. And, back then, you, the technology was different. It was not quite as advanced. So, yeah. So I found out that I was carrying twins at 12 weeks. And I had all of these different books. One book in particular was called Having Twins. And it just went over, it was, like all of the baby information, baby you know, and in the back of the book, it had things that, abnormalities that might, that could, birth defects and things like that. And which, can be a normal thing. I mean, it can definitely occur, And so what I did was, I glued, I taped those pages together so that I would not look at them because I wanted just positive thoughts and positive energy. And so, yeah, so I'm turning the head just as I'm going a little bit. Now, like I said, I'm rooting the perimeter, so some of this hair, of course, will be, what one would consider get crushed, when I'm rooting the other areas of the head, which is fine because it will also be easily able to comb, to spray into thin comb. So yeah, so I taped those pages together because I didn't want to see that. Yeah, not that there's I mean, it's not like I would discriminate against any, a child, that has any types of abnormalities. But I just, like I said, I was carrying twins, and I didn't want to think of anything like that, because when you are expecting, oftentimes you have different thoughts, different concerns that you might have, and carrying multiples, there are, you know, different thoughts, you know, different things that you think about. And in my family, on my mom's side, believe it or not, she had 3 sets of twin siblings, you know, yeah. And then on my dad's side, my dad had 1 set of twin siblings. Yeah. So it was, in a sense, pretty much inevitable. It was a very high probability that I would, have twins. So, yeah. So, I wanted to keep it a secret that I was carrying multiples. But when, I got so big, carrying multiples because I was so small. And so we had to admit that, we were carrying multiples. So, yeah. So, twin sons. And they are such a blessing. They were born a little bit early, as many times twins are. So, yeah, they were born a little bit early. And they were healthy, thank God. They were, so they stayed in the hospital just 11 days. I had done a lot of research when I, well, the entire pregnancy, and back then, if you were carrying multiples, oftentimes uh, they didn't even consider you giving birth, normally or vaginally, right? They just automatically wanted to give you a cesarean. And, having a cesarean is major surgery, although they may not, you know, uh, make it seem that way, but it is. It's major surgery. And you have to recuperate from that, And so I felt that if I wanted to give myself the best possible chance of a normal vaginal birth, because also the child being able to go through the birth canal has these wonderful health benefits for the child's lungs and, all of that kind of stuff. So, I, you know, my doctor, my OBGYN had privileges at a hospital that no longer exists, but because it was a long time ago. But and they had a very low cesarean rate, meaning low cesarean rate of for multiples. Um, so for their multiples, their cesarean rate was only something like 2%, which meant that they would give um, you the opportunity to have a normal vaginal birth. And I was really hyped by that. And fortunately, we were able to give birth, um, had a normal vaginal birth. And yeah, so that was like really, really, really great, a real blessing. And I'm not saying anything, uh, against anyone who had a cesarean, because I'm definitely not. I'm just mentioning what, my experience, had been. Um, yeah, so I was able to deliver my sons, um, and I didn't take any, pain medication or anything. Then, um, I wanted to try to go through the whole labor and delivery without any medication, because I wanted them to be born um, without anything in their systems, any medication in their system, because what happens is oftentimes when the medication, the pain meds is given to the mommy, it goes into, it goes into the baby. And then the baby is asleep and it makes labor harder, because the baby doesn't, in a sense, help and push and do all of those types of things, help and move down the birth canal. Um, so now I got a little bit too much hair. It's going to look pluggy, and I don't want it looking pluggy around, especially around the perimeter of the face. So I'm removing that. And yeah, so I just removed that little bit. So I was able to take out one of the strands, and I think that looks pretty good. Yeah. So yeah, so that's one of the that's one of the things. So that was, my rationale. Um and it actually happened to work out. I mean, you know, that way it worked out. So I think that might be one of the reasons that being a boy mom, I think that's one of the reasons that every time I see a kid, or most every time I see a kid, I see it as a boy. Um, so I have to be mindful that I don't make every single kid into a boy, or even a boy with blonde, with blonde hair, because I love the blonde. I love the honey blonde color and everything like that. So, um, but that's just my thing. So, I know this has been a long video, and you've seen me do a little bit of rooting around the perimeter. Um, and I hope that it has been, interesting or inspiring to see. I would like to thank you so much for being here in my happy place as I am rooting um, baby Onyx. I will be going back into doing painting um, our dear sweet Maggie. Um, I took a little bit of a break, because I had Onyx that I'm doing and the other dolls that I'm working on and so on and so forth and different things. So I took a little break and I would like to get Onyx, rooted or at least partially rooted because I am so highly honored that Karen from Making Reborn Dolls with Karen um, has faith in me and has commissioned me to reborn a doll for her, a Maggie for her. And I am like extra excited about reborning her doll and rooting her doll. Um, I'm really hyped about it. I'm like so excited. And her kit should be here like, the next couple of days, the next few days. So yeah, so I will be whenever I get her kit, um, I'm gonna start on hers. I'm gonna start on her kit. I mean, I do have Realborn Charlie that I opened up yesterday, live on my live stream, and he's adorable. He's really, really adorable. And seeing Karen reborn him made me want to get him. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's so cute. And then reborn June, who is a 3-year old. I love her. I want to reborn her, and she's going to be a girl. I'm gonna keep her a girl. And then there's the other kids that I have, and the other dolls that I've been asked to create, to reborn. So I'm just so very excited. But I'm definitely going to be doing Karen's doll online, which is going to be so exciting. It's going to be so exciting. So I would love for you to like, comment, subscribe, and share my videos in my page. I am so happy to be in the reborn community and be reborning. Um, and I would love for to be able to share with others, what it is that we're doing here in my happy place at Diva G's Reborns. So please do come back real soon to see what it is that we have going on here. Enjoy your day. Peace and blessings.